you probably like this before. It's like, dang, I'm probably not getting more out of it than what I'm putting in. And sync kind of alleviates some of that. It's like, okay, I spent all this money to make all this stuff happen. All right, now I can get a return for it. And I see that it's working. Like, obviously, you make the music, you know what I'm saying? You promote yourself, whatever. But with the sync, it's kind of like now you're making your music work for you as well.
Welcome back to the Better Than Best Academy. I can already tell that today's episode is guaranteed to put a smile on your face and more. My guest today is Baltimore's pop star. Is that what you go by?
I
He's
would say, yeah.
his name is Hey Donnie. Now, Donnie, for my first question, I saw where you were asking people on your TikTok this question. So I'd love to ask you that question. I'm curious to know, what is the one reason to smile more for you?
I would say that my one reason to smile more is honestly just hope and just to branch off that context. The reason for hope is like my favorite artists are J. Cole, Kid Cudi, and Kyle, right? And they, even though they're all sonically different, you know, different lanes, they all got their own thing
Yeah.
going on. The one thing that they all do, they all give people hope. They all let people be optimistic. And like those are my top big three. You know, some people might debate, you know, why is that my big three? But like that's my big three because like at moments when I want to feel hopeful or inspired, I would go listen to them, and they show me like, hey, you can be optimistic and you can be hopeful, and you can do it in your own taste, and it'll still resonate with other people. So like my one reason smile more match is just trying to be optimistic because I know like things always get better. You know what I mean?
But yeah, I totally think that's so cool that that's kind of your whole message. Now, I would love for the people listening at home, and even myself included, because I mean we just met. I would love for you to share like this is the person for the first time hearing about you. Let us know who Donnie is.
Donnie for me would be the friend, the family member, the brother, the big cousin, the one that, you know, like if things aren't going right in your life, I'll be the one to encourage you. Like I'm going to be the person that's going to always encourage you, always going to use my story or my personal experience to be like, hey man, you know, you can get through this. And let's try to be available for others, you know, not only including friends, but including family, and always being that person that try to tell people not to be so hard on themselves and just try to be very supportive. And that's what basically Donnie is for me. Hey Donnie, the way I make music, um, it basically all just stems from me just, you know how people talk about like self love and those self encouragement, those things. To me,
Yeah.
that's what I make music for. I make music because, you know, sometimes, like I said, I listen to Kid Cudi, Kyle, J. Cole, and I just basically just started making my own radio station for myself. So like when I feel like certain things that I have something to go back and reference for and be like, oh, I made it through this or I made it through that. And, you know, hopefully at the end of the day, it can impact somebody else to make them feel the same way.
Good. I am all for all of that because I feel like there's so much music that's being pushed out that's so negative and depressing. And I mean, I understand it has its place. Don't get me wrong, but
No, it be slapping up sometimes. Don't get me wrong.
right,
Some songs
right,
be
yeah, it slaps. Yeah, like you need to. I don't know. It hits different sometimes. But man, I love the fact that you're influenced by Kid Cudi and Kyle and all those people that bring that positive note. What would you say was that moment in your life that you decided this is the kind of music I want to make?
I would probably say the day I went over to my best friend's house. His name is Teddy. And I remember I went there with two ultimatums because I was at like a weird point in my life. And I was like, I made like a real super trap song and I made a positive song. So I made two different songs and I rapped the trap song to him first. And he just looked me dead in my face and he was like, don't you ever do that again. And I was like, bet. And then the second song he heard it, he was like, all right, I like that one more. And then from there, I was like, okay, I'm gonna do that because he is also responsible. Honestly, he was the first person to find a producer that made like more authentic stuff. So it all worked out. So basically, he kind of guided me onto being that kind of person. Like, so the same way I like to be there for others, like that, he was that person for me as well, and he like pushed me to go that route because I definitely probably was going to make trap music, but thank God I did not do that. But that's I would say that's the first moment, and then a moment after that, I had put out a song called "I'm Weak." Is I put out a song called "I'm Weak," but it was positive. But that was the first song I ever put out. I put it on SoundCloud. I think it got like 100,000 streams or something. Like it was like one of those songs. I had put out like a bunch of like songs out before that, but when I put out that first optimistic one, that was the only one to do 100,000 organically, and I was like, okay, this might be the way. This might be the wave.
Man, that's so cool. Would you say that I think that's such an interesting story how you made the two songs and they were like polar opposites. You had the trap song and then you had the song that is now your sound. Would you say that in that moment you were almost making something that you weren't as a person and then making something that you truly were? And maybe it was something about you leaning into your authentic self that made you want to create this music?
I would say that the trap song is not necessary. I wouldn't say that it's necessarily not that authentic, but what I will say is it was leaning more on the side of stuff that I no longer want to be a part of, and it was it would be backtracking for me if I did that. And the optimistic song, it felt like that's the person that I wanted to be. That's the person I wanted to be because I remember before I made the optimistic song, I think the last song that I was listening to before I made that song, it was like Kyle and Futuristic. This is when I first found Kyle. It was like Kyle and Futuristic, and I was like, oh, this dude is killing it. And he just being himself, and I was like, you know what? How about I just try it this way because I had done everybody else, and a part of that context with the optimistic music is just like I'm from Baltimore, and there's a lot of history in my personal life, and there's a lot of things that people don't know about, and it's just like technically I could make trap music, but that doesn't resonate with me authentically as a person because that's not what I want to do. Especially with Baltimore, I don't know if you ever heard, but Baltimore is basically known for like drugs and gun violence and all that kind of stuff. And I basically had that typical experience growing up, and I don't want to reiterate that into the world, especially now that I have like little sisters and little cousins and stuff. I don't want to fall into that trap of promoting those things, even though technically it would be an easier way to do it, but like it's not the right thing to do morally for myself right now.
Man, yeah, I had another guy on my show from the Baltimore area, and he was explaining the same thing. How it was, it's a tough space for sure, and it's easy, like you said. Sometimes the easy route is the route that we could take. That idea of yeah, like I could lean into my surroundings and be affected by all that, and let that speak through my music, or I could choose to be myself and be different and unique. And I think by choosing that, I think that's what makes you stand out as an artist. Would you agree?
I would say I'm not gonna lie. There are sometimes I've done shows in Baltimore, and sometimes I be like around people, and it just feels so odd to me. Like not in, it just feels odd because like I'll put it for instance like this. So I was in the studio with some people. We all make different kind of music, but it's like I personally won't play my music in there because I already know my demographic. But it just be so weird. It's just like it's a sore thumb sticking out, and I used to think that was a bad thing, but like that's what gives me my power. And luckily, like I said, I have people like my best friend and another friend of mine that they love me for me and like keep doing it, don't do other stuff. Because I've also had the other experience where I've had a bunch of people come into my life and be like, "Yo, you need to talk about guns. You need to talk about drugs." And I'm gonna be honest, the worst moment I ever had with like that kind of situation, I don't think I want to say his name, but I'll just say it's a platinum producer who made a song that we all know and love. He made a couple songs that we all know and love with some people. Like dang, I don't think I can say, but actually I'll say like Big Sean, Travis Scott, and all those kind of people. And he found me off a positive song, right? And then he sent me a pack of beats. I made the songs, whatever. And he told me that, yo, how about you just start rapping about like money, drugs, and guns and all that stuff? I was like, no, not really. I'm good. Cause, but what context of that is, I don't. Cause like I said, I come from Baltimore, and I don't ever really expand on my upbringing. But it's just like when I see stuff like that, it kind of like hurts because it's like, dang, it's like I don't like you don't even know why I am the way I am or why I want to do the things I want to do. Granted, we still put the songs out, but it's like okay, I see how it's gonna be. I can tell how this journey like is gonna go.
Well, I want to commend you for choosing the positive route. I want to give you some encouragement there because I know that that's not easy. When I was making music and when I was a rapper, I was making a lot of Christian rap just because my faith is an important part of my life. And yeah, I would go, I live in Texas, so I'd go to the Dallas area and I'd do these shows in these showcases. And you got, yeah, people talking about drugs, sex, all the things that you could talk about. And then I hop up. And obviously, there's a difference because of the skin color. So
Yeah,
that's already the elephant in the room. And then I get up there and I've got a drummer with me and like I kind of had a rockier edge, but also at the same time, I mean, I'm positive. So I'd hop on stage and stick out like a sore thumb, and I would think, oh man, I'm gonna be laughed at or booed off stage. But yeah, it was the opposite for a lot of the time. People were like, man, this is so fresh, it's so different, and it's so unique, and I thought that was so cool. But yeah, I think that's so interesting. With that said, what do you think people misunderstand about you most?
if I had to be completely honest, I would say that things that people understand. I don't think that anybody really knows me. I'm gonna be honest. Like I don't know how to put it. Like my close friends, the people I can count on my finger, they really know me. But like outside of that, I don't think people they don't know me, so they don't understand why I'm doing what I'm doing. Because some people might see somebody like, granted, I make tons of songs, whatever, that very arranged, but the same message is still trying to be open, optimistic. But with that being said, people don't understand why I want to be optimistic and try to be more hopeful. So people don't get that. So they just think that, oh, this dude, he wanna just make like Disney rap and do all of this stuff. That's not
Disney rap. I
it's
haven't heard
if
that
I
one.
told you my whole life story or I told you like the reason why I do what I do, then like you will understand. But as I get older, it's not up to me to make people understand me. Like if you get it, you get it. You don't, you don't. But it's like, but I would say that that'd probably be one of the things. Like I obviously I gotta put myself out there for people to know me more, but I would say that's one of the things people misunderstand. They don't really know me because I don't like to talk about certain things.
That's fair. Now, I'll follow up with this question, and obviously, if you don't want to answer it, that's fine. We can skip it. But you say that a lot of people don't know you, so I would love to ask the question: What do what's the thing that you don't want people to know about you?
That's a great question. Uh honestly, I feel like I got over a lot of things. So like I've been in a good space. So like there's nothing there's nothing unfair for people to know or anything like that. I'm pretty comfortable with myself. It's just I just won't ever let anybody take me off the purpose of why I started to make the music that I wanted to make. And I just won't ever let anybody knock me off that path ever.
That's awesome. I love that. Now, as you've had this journey, how long have you been making music?
Probably since like 2016. But for context, from 2018 to 2021, it was under a different artist name. And
Okay.
that was going pretty well. But then like I think I just had like some time in my life where I just thought about like, yeah, I do want to change my name. Yo, I do want to like just focus on You Should Smile more stuff. Cause I felt like I put in all the groundwork before with the other name and it taught me a lot of learning experiences. So now that I've learned all those experiences and learned how to like move forward, now I'm like, okay, what makes sense in a happy with myself? I take those lessons I learned as the other artist name and I just apply it to this and like they're going pretty good for the first year. For the first year, I say it's been pretty good.
Okay, so now I'm interested. You said so you were rapping for a while under another name and then you made that pivot to where you are now. What was what was that defining moment there to make that pivot?
The defining moment for me was things just got like quiet, and then I started learning like about more about the business and more about trademarks and more about like sync and all of those things. And I started thinking about in the long run, like, okay, what fits my brand? What fit like the other name? Don't get me wrong, the other name fit, but I felt like Hey Donnie, because I've been wanting to change my name, but like things just picked up so much. where it's just like I was like, oh man, it's too late to change it because a lot was going on. So when things died down for a bit, I was like, okay, I can switch it now because this is really what I want to present. To understand brand more, making logos and stuff like that. For my the reference for my brand, I was like, it's just time. It's just time for me, and I felt like it was the best thing to do for me for like the next 5 years.
I love it. And the brand is what? What is it? You should
You
smile
should
more.
smile more. Yeah, bro. I got it like tattooed on me and everything. Like, it's on me for life. They probably can't see it, but like, it's
Yeah,
on
I
me for
see it.
life.
I love
I
it.
got it.
I want you to elaborate a little more of where that came from and kind of the story behind it.
You know what's crazy? I don't even know. I don't know. I don't remember.
I love that.
Um, I think it was probably like 2 years ago. I don't know. I was talking to somebody who made cover arts for me, but it this phrase "you should smile more" just kept being in my head. I didn't see it anywhere, but that phrase just kept. I think I was going through something, and I just said that phrase to myself. And then the person who was making my cover arts back then, named Spa, really talented kid from like France or whatever. Yeah, making a go for it, and I was like, yeah, yeah, this is what I want to do. So then I ended up, opening like LLC and you should smile more, everything. You should smile more, trademarking and everything. I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. This. I feel like I guess this would be my brand's messaging for me as a person. So I was like, okay, I'll do it. It fits what I want to do.
That's so cool. And it's unique, like you said, it's bringing a fresh perspective, I think, because there's not a lot of hip hop pop artists that are really bringing that positivity, bringing that smile more. Because if there's anything that I've learned in the past few years, I'm sure you have too. Like we truly need more joy in our life because I mean the world can be super dark and depressing.
It
But
does.
I want to ask you. I'm looking through some of my notes, and you mentioned you learned a little bit more about sync, and I saw when I was doing a little bit of research on your TikTok that you had a song recently on TV, and then you had another song, Delta Airlines. Is that right?
Yeah,
They used it. Man,
yeah. And
that's
then
super dope. I'd love for you to kind of walk through how that happened, kind of what it's like to have sync licensing and that kind of thing. Because a lot of people that listen to the podcast are creatives, are artists. So I like to not only give that personal side, but also some practical side. So if you want to share any of that stuff with the people from home, I know that they would love to hear that.
I always say that the way that I ended up getting into it, I'll be honest. Um, I just had like some other like peers in music doing that kind of stuff, and then they had ended up showing me how to do it, and then I just took that information that I learned and then I ran with it. A lot of people think that with like the science stuff, you need labels or you need like some big team of people to do it. I'll be honest, all you need is like about an hour a day. LinkedIn, LinkedIn account, so
Hey,
Google, Instagram. I'm be honest, you can find every single sync business on Instagram because like it's not you directly pitching to the shows or pitching to those brands. Technically, you could, but like it's not you specifically pitching to them. What you want to do is you want to either find like a sync agent or like a sync boutique or like a sync agency, and then just you send your music out, and if they like it, they like it. If they want to sign you, they sign you. If they don't, they don't. But really, it just all comes down to just networking and just going with the right people that's willing to push your stuff out there. And like even with sync, you can work with like multiple different agents at once, like multiple different companies at once. But like there's no specific spot for you to go. It's just like taking that time, like I said, like LinkedIn, Instagram, and just shooting your shot. And then the people that pour into you and really believe in your stuff, you give it to them and you give them more. And you live in it's a lot of learning steps. I'll be honest. There's a lot to learn. You just gotta make sure your business is straight. If your business is straight, then you'll be clear for more opportunities, basically. It's cool. I mean, that's like one of the big things that I want to do this year is sing. It's like I think I had about like five opportunities this year doing it. And it's cool. It's cool.
That's awesome. Man, putting the people on game. I know a very, very small amount of sync, but I encourage those people at home that are artists, if you're looking for another way to not only get your music heard by people, but also, I mean, from what I understand, it can be fairly profitable and it definitely can help boost your career from a financial standpoint. But man, I love that you had those opportunities, and that's super dope. Super dope. Man,
Yeah.
I want to ask. My notes are all over the place today, but let me see. But yeah, I think that's super cool. So what was, I guess if you could kind of dive in a little deeper, if you could give one tip on where to start for syncing for artists, what would you tell them? Like that first step.
Knowing what I know now, cause I got obsessed with it last summer. Knowing what I know now, I would say go. You, it's two things I would recommend. I would either go to Instagram and I would look up sync license, and I would just start digging for every sync agent and sync licensor account, because most of everybody got emails and stuff like that, and you can reach out. And if they don't have the email, they definitely got a website where you can professionally send your stuff over. You know what I'm saying, the proper channels. Um, or other than that, I would recommend the website Tune. Might be TuneFind or TuneBack, but I more specifically think it's TuneFind. But basically, TuneFind, if you look up any show on TuneFind, it'll show you where to go for. It'll show you like what agency or agent licensed music, for the show, movie, or video game, and then you can it doesn't have their contact, but it does have the person, and it might have the website, or it might have the same agency website, and you can go there. You know, you can pitch, and that's all it really is. It's a lot of pitching. I would be honest with you. It's a lot of pitching, and it's just you just want to pitch stuff that you just want to pitch stuff that's authentic to you. And I'm sad about it, to be honest. Like for me, it's personally, I already make like optimism stuff, so it's just like it already fit. Cause I looked at like music, I was like, I can't make optimistic stuff and be competing with people that's like doing trap and stuff because we're not in the same arenas. So it's like it worked for me because I'm going where it's more fit. You know, call it well sync. They take all kinds of music, man. They take rock, they take hip hop, um, to take rock, like I said, rock, hip hop. They take sports kind of like songs, like if you listen to NBA 2K, like soundtrack type stuff, bro. They take everything. They take classical. They literally take every kind of genre. So you still have a way in, and even if they don't use your vocals, they'll still use your production, and like you'll still make money either way, whether you use your vocals or not.
Man, that's so cool. I love that that's an option for artists because I know back in the day, even 4 5 years ago, to get your music on TV, on any of that kind of stuff, it was super hard. You had to go through a bunch of hoops. But I think it's really cool that for those listening out there, do some research, take the couple hours, get up on game, and get your stuff synced because I feel like that's such an opportunity that a lot of artists are sitting on. Because I mean, you're making content, you're making art, and someone out there needs that to fill in space, whether it's like you said, musically or even lyrically. And if you can find the right people, then man, that's some amazing doors that could open up. Because I mean, you never know who could hear your song on TV or on a commercial and be like, "That's the song. That's it."
And I'm
But
gonna throw in one more secret
yeah,
sauce. I'm
yeah,
gonna throw in
yeah.
one
Go
more
for it.
secret
Go
sauce.
for it.
I'm gonna say this: some sync agencies don't only just specialize for like TV, games, commercials, but they also focuses on like brands, right? So like they can get like influencers and stuff to use your music, like they can have influencers and stuff like millions of followers, like use your music and stuff for like TikTok or like Instagram, but it all be like brand ads and stuff like that. So it's like, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of like you're starting to make the music work for you. Like obviously you make the music, you know what I'm saying? You promote yourself, whatever. But with the sync, it's kind of like now you're making your music work for you as well. So it's like, because I know with a lot of up and comers, you probably like this before. It's like, dang, I'm probably not getting more out of it than what I'm putting in. And sync kind of alleviates some of that. It's like, okay, I spent all this money to make all this stuff happen. All right, now I can get a return for it, and I see that it's working for me.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Man, so good. this is going to be some great practical stuff for people. I definitely know that they're going to enjoy that. But with that, I know that with being creative and being an artist, sometimes it's hard to do the selling. Sometimes it's hard to do the pitching. So what would your advice be to maybe a young artist out there that's they want to sync their music, but they're maybe not sure of themselves, maybe they're worried, maybe lack a little confidence. What would you say to a young artist out there feeling that way?
To anybody feeling that way, first I would say learn how to write proper emails, professional emails, and
Come on.
just get to the point. I'll be honest with you. Because I had like a lot of experience doing it, and like sometimes it does work if people talk for you, because I understand like the music and stuff, the way music work. People don't want to talk to the artists because the artists are like sensitive emotions and things like that. But like also at the same time, you gotta look at people that's like Russ and stuff like that. Like, yo, you are the spokesperson for your. Obviously, I'm not gonna say don't act like Russ, but you want to be confident in yourself and you want to be your brand spokesperson. And sometimes like you gotta like just separate yourself from the artist side of it and just be like, I'm the business person, I'm the spokesperson for my brand. If I need to believe in it, and if I just reach out, there are people willing to talk to me. And there are definitely people willing to talk to you about your music, people that's willing to give you an opportunity, but you can't, how I, from my experience, like I said, I had like 4 years experience at this, right? Just be very direct, just be honest, and just have that conversation, and just reach out, pitch, um, professionally and honestly about it. You'll be surprised how many people answers they're like, you'll be surprised how many people answer you. Like everybody will answer you for the most part. Like I'd say like 80% of people might answer you, especially on LinkedIn. It's crazy. Everybody answers messages on LinkedIn. But it's just like you gotta put yourself out there and you gotta be the spokesperson for your brand. You gotta be the one that's, I think the biggest advice somebody told me was like advocate for yourself. You need to be your biggest advocate. Because like if you're not gonna advocate for yourself, who's gonna advocate for you? You know what I mean?
Come on. If you can't believe in your art and what you create, then who's going to believe in it? Man, that is so good. I want to transition a little bit though with this next question. This is all great material that I know people are going to get practical steps to going and putting out there. Take action. With that said, take action. Yeah, you might not have a perfect email at first, but the more you email people, the better you'll get. I can definitely attest to that. I'll piggyback off of that. A good email and a good message to the right people will definitely get you to the next level. But to transition away kind of from the more practical stuff, I know as we grow and the more that we perfect our craft and even just life in general, a lot of times we have our mind made up about one thing, but
Right.
sometimes we change it. So I would love to know, what have you changed your mind on? Like something you thought you might have knew, but now you have no idea, or maybe you just flipped the way that you see stuff completely.
Things that I've changed my mind on. I would say if something I changed my mind on, I probably would say like limiting myself to a specific sound. Um, like I said, everything is mostly done with like optimistic and hope, but just releasing, limiting myself and putting myself out there into like other genres. Because there's that in different jobs that I've made, it's like, wow, I can't believe. Like when I listen to it, I'm like, dang, this is me. But it's just like I'll probably say that's the biggest thing, just being more open to trying new things. Because obviously, as an artist, you can keep your core message. Like I said, you should smile more for me. That's the core message. But it's okay to like experiment and try other things because you never know, man. You never know. You might hit gold trying other things, and that's basically what you got to do as an artist. That's like the biggest thing for me, though.
That's so good. Yeah, don't get so married to a sound that you almost put yourself in a box. Because I feel like when we get too married to a certain sound, then we get to a space where those ideas run dry. And then you're like, a lot of people will feel blocked or they just feel almost like, what's the use? But something about, yeah, stepping out of the box, doing something different, pushing your boundaries, being experimental. Because I mean, all the greats out there, they weren't trying to sound like the next somebody else. They were trying to sound like themselves. They were trying to create something new. Man, I love that. That's so good. Now, I want to pause We're about probably halfway through, maybe a little further. But I want to pause and give you the chance to let people know where they can find you and your music.
All right, so you can find all my music on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, Audio Mac, I believe too. I don't have a SoundCloud anymore, but it's all under Hey Donnie. You can also go to heydonnie.com, get yourself some You Should Smile More sweaters, shirts, hoodies, hats, notebooks, journals, everything. Um, but yeah, that's everywhere. Instagram, Hey Donnie, Facebook. I got Facebook. Nah, I'm too old for Facebook. Nah, no Facebook. But yeah, that's about everywhere. And
Uh,
Twitter, heydonnie.com. Yeah.
so I want to ask you at this point, what questions did I miss out on asking you?
Hmm. Hmm. If I had to say one question, I probably would say, why is it important for you to be as to be impactful? I probably would feel like that's like the number one thing, maybe. I think so, yeah.
Is that a question for me or for you?
No, I'm saying like for me personally, I
Yeah,
would say
yeah,
that's
and
like
that's definitely that was on my list. I love that that was one of your questions. But yeah, yeah, why is it important for you to be so impactful?
dang, that's the question. Now I gotta.
Yeah, you got to answer.
I would say it's important for me to be impactful because I genuinely and I authentically and I truly believe in every word that I say when I make music and everything I say when I do want to help other people feel better about themselves, even help myself feel better about myself, and leave this world better than when I came in. Um, in terms of just doing something different, that's different from my family, doing something that's different from my experience, and really making an impact on people's lives, which I have is a crazy thing to say as a 25-year-old who's not mainstream yet, but I've had those experiences where people from like bro like the Philippines. I remember one thing. This dude is like a 65 or 70-year-old man from London. He DM'd me like your music's life, and like from then on out, I was like, that's crazy. It's like to see like people from different parts of the world can listen to my story and my experiences, and it helps them feel better. And that's like the biggest thing for me. Like obviously, artists, you need money to make music and stuff like that, but it's a different kind of love and a different kind of feeling when you genuinely impact people's lives. That's like is crazy. It's just a crazy kind of like power or whatever you want to call it. And that's like the one thing that helps me as a person because that's all I want to set out to do. I just want to help people feel better. And I just want to help others, help believe in themselves too. You know what I mean? And that's like the biggest thing for me. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know where that feeling came from, but ever since I started making music, I don't know how to describe it. It's just like a feeling. Like my compass will not allow me to do anything else musically because it's just like that's feel like that's what I was supposed to do and like a grand thing to say, but it's what helps me feel better, and it feels like it helps me feel fulfilled as a person, knowing that other people can be impacted, which is pretty cool. It's pretty cool to me.
That's so good. I always say if you focus on the impact, the income will follow. And with that said, what's the legacy you want to leave in this world?
About $5 million, 5 Lambos. It's like the impact that I would like to leave. Hmm. I think the impact I would like to leave, if I had to start off, I would say that I would like to know that I help shift somebody's life for the better, whether that be, like I said, a friend or a family member or somebody I don't even know. I think that's the biggest thing to me, just knowing that somebody heard something that helped them feel better. The same way I used to live, the same way Kyle and cut, and it made me feel better, and it made me want to do better with my life. And I just want to leave the world in that way, just knowing that I helped somebody else. You know what I mean? That's the biggest thing for me. Now, obviously, all the grand achievements is cool too, but like personally, for me, it's just making sure that somebody got help.
I love it. I love that helping people and impacting people is like the core of your message. That's special, man. For
Bro,
real.
it's crazy. It's so, bro, I just want to tell you the craziest story, right? I just want to tell you one thing, bro. I could like not last year, maybe like 2 or 3 years ago, I had somehow got on like a Hot 97 show, right? I had no idea, right? But I ended up doing a show like you said, you did the show in Dallas, Texas, where you felt like you'd be the sore thumb sticking out. Bro, I was sweating bullets because I was like, uh-oh. When they called my name, boy, I was sweating because they had like Meg the Stallion as like there, and I was like, boy, I was sweating bullets. I'm New York. I'm about to go grab some optimistic stuff. And like, it's crazy. After I got done, it it was weird because it's like a lot of people, I like how you said you didn't think would rock with you, they rock with you. And I mean like big buff dudes coming up in like Timberlands and stuff. I thought they was about to say something wild. They was like, nah, bro, this is it. This is it, bro. You need to do this. I was like, that's kind of crazy. And that just showed me that like if you believe in yourself, you advocate for yourself, you can put yourself in good positions and good places. Even if you are the sort of thumb sticking out, that is also your advantage too, because you're authentically impacting people. People aren't just listening like, oh, he like somebody else. They're like, nah, this person is him, and I rock with it. And that's what you need to do in this life. You know what I mean? Just be you.
Man, come on. I
I have a lot of experience.
Yeah. This is great. This is so good and it's so important. And if people haven't already heard of your music and heard of your message, they need to. And they're going to. Like I believe that when you show up your most authentic self, but not just that, the message is so much more than what you can achieve. When you get into that space, like you already win. It's from that space the people are going to be impacted. You're you're like 95, 100, 110, 20, however old you plan to be. I know I want to live a long life to impact as many people as possible. But say you're on your deathbed with all your loved ones around you, what do you want to be remembered for most?
I would say that I would want to be remembered as. Hmm, dang, that's a great question. I ain't even gonna lie to you. Um, I would say that if I'm there with my family and my friends, I think, well, with my family and stuff, I would probably would say that he didn't quit. He didn't give up. He didn't give into the world. He didn't stop doing what he wanted to do. And he saw everything in his life that he wanted to do, he saw it through. I think that's what the biggest thing I would want my family to know. Because I got like a ton, like a little siblings, and I also have a daughter now. So it's like I would want them to know, like, hey, your dad made mistakes. Your dad probably didn't do the best things. Your dad may have failed at some things, but he saw it through and he didn't let the weight of the world or other people's opinions affect him seeing through his life what he wanted to do. And I think that's the biggest thing, especially with artists. We can get caught up as we start listening to everybody else. We start giving into what everybody else is doing, or we feel like we're getting overlooked and like overshadowed and stuff. It's like, nah, man, just settle down, relax, doing your journey, and it's working. Keep doing it. If it's not, obviously, find a pivot. But I think, but like I said, that'd be the biggest thing, man. Just knowing that never quit, and that hopefully my family or the people in my family can take inspiration from that, and we can that's all, and they can use that for their life too.
Bars.
Hey, man, look,
That's all real talk. Um, you said your dad. Congrats.
yeah,
How old is your daughter?
uh, shoot, like 2 months, yeah,
Wow.
2 months going on three, and
Oh man, I
it's
love it.
different, man.
Yeah, I have a 2-year-old son, and then my wife's pregnant with a girl, so I'm gonna have a daughter in February. So, man,
Congrats.
fatherhood is amazing. What would you say now that you're a couple months into being a dad? What would you say has changed as far as your outlook and kind of what have you learned most by being a parent that's applied to your music?
Good question. Uh, I probably would say that applied to music and parenthood, I probably would say Dang, this is good. Dang, hold up,
Good.
man.
Take your time. You're good.
I would say being resilient and I would say being resourceful. I would say those two things. And the reason I say those two things because the one thought as a dad that always comes to mind is like one day she is going to grow up and she's going to ask me for advice for her life. And she's going to have moments where she might feel like quitting or anything like that. And I got to think to myself, what is my answer going to be when she get bigger? Am I going to tell her, nah, just chill out, quit, or I'm gonna be there and support her, and encourage her through the whole thing. And as a dad, and I look at music, it's like it's the same thing. It's like you gonna quit or you gonna do it, and it's like it's better off to just see things through and be resilient again and just persevere through everything because you know how music goes, man. You know how it goes. It's a thing. It's
For
it can
real.
be complicated at times,
Oh
but
yeah.
you just gotta see it through. That's how you win.
Yeah. It's definitely something that's not for the faint of heart. If you can't handle rejection or trolls or negative comments or putting yourself out there, even just having the courage to put a song out there takes so much. But man, I love that that's your thought because it's so I agree. Being a dad, I look at my son and I know I'll look at my daughter the same way and be like, they're gonna come to me with that advice. They're gonna be like, Dad, I want to go do this big dream, and like it's up to us. Like we have the opportunity to be like, well, it didn't work out here, it didn't work out there, or we have the opportunity to be like, what's the impossible dream? Dream bigger. Like that's been the coolest thing about the circles I've been around is, and I want to ask you that question. What is your impossible goal? Your impossible dream?
Dang, that's a great question. Hmm, I'll be honest, I have no idea. Cause with me, my first dream honestly was just saying like, yo, was it possible? So I guess the second dream, because I already answered that question for myself, was it possible? Extremely possible. Extremely plausible. Is I've been to some people's houses I've never thought I'd be in, and it's crazy.
Right.
I'm not gonna name drop, but it's just one of those surreal feelings where I was like, oh snap, this is cool. Like I'm out here making songs about being happy and I'm in this person's house. And it's like crazy. But I guess the impossible dream, man, would just it's a great question. I don't even lie. I don't even think I have an impossible dream because I know it's possible at this point. I guess the impossible dream at first would have been the same like if plausible, but I found out it is. So like I don't think I don't think there's anything. I feel like I can do anything now at this point. That was a long way to answer the question, but
Hey, I love that perspective because I mean, I talk to artists and people alike, and I love to ask that question like, what's the impossible dream? What's the impossible goal? And a lot of people, they can think of something, and a lot of times their thinking is smaller than they realize. Because I feel like we could always think more limitlessly. And you even mentioned earlier, a lot of times we put the limits on, and you've literally experienced the success that you thought was impossible. And it's just that idea of dream bigger, go for broke. Because what's the worst that's gonna happen? Because I would rather get to the end of my life, like we mentioned earlier. I would rather get to my deathbed and be full of failures and tries than regrets because I don't know about you. I'd rather not live a life of regret. I'd rather live a life of abundance, a life of spreading joy, a life of being that impact. Because even if I only impacted one person, then I would be fulfilled.
exactly. And that's the whole thing, man. It's no regrets. It's no looking back about shoulda, coulda, woulda, and it's just using those negative things and just doing what you can do with it. And you're absolutely right. And that's like for me too as well. That's where like it all comes from because I failed a lot. I'll be honest, I failed a lot, but I don't take no for an answer because that I have zero shame in my game. Like if somebody reject me, I'm like I'm gonna go somewhere else and I'm gonna pivot because I'm going to make sure that I see it through for myself. Because once you already know it's possible for yourself, it's just like dang, do anything you want, and then don't do those things that you know you can do. It's just like regret. Regret is a heck of a feeling, and it's not worth living with.
Come on. So true. So you mentioned failures. I feel like a lot of times when we've reached a level of success and we're sharing our story, we almost forget about the hard times and we almost forget about the failures. But it's like the saying goes, failures are only failures if you're not learning from it. So I would love for you to tell me about a time that you faced your biggest failure and what you learned from it.
God, I know it. It's funny because you just said that. I know exactly what coming to mind. Oh my god. Um, Now that I take full accountability of my life, that I've taken it and I've took it. I would say the biggest thing for me is, whew, I would say boundaries. I would say boundaries. Boundaries 100%. And the reason I say boundaries is to put it in perspective. Like, so the first time I got like some big stuff going for me around with the other artist name, I had this sense of guilt because I've known all these people around me like, yo, this was their dream for a long time. They've been hustling, and then I just come along, and then dang, you know what I mean? And like some of these people were like really close friends. They're not anymore, but like they were really close friends of mine, and just really close people I was close with. And it's just like I felt like I owe people things because good things were happening in my life. And now I'm a 25-year old. I realize that's not the case. Obviously, you take care of people who take care of you, but because when I was younger and I had all these things going for me, I felt guilty. I didn't have the proper boundaries in place to be like, nah, we're not doing this, or no, 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 or just saying yes when I really meant to say no. Because like for me, music and whenever I do something big, whenever I do open a door, I people look at it like different ways, but I still see it from like the kid version of me where it's like, yo, I can't believe this happening. So everything to me is like, yo, oh my god, this is crazy. I can't believe it, bro. Oh, what is this? You know what I'm saying? Obviously, I expect it to happen, but to me, it's just like it's wow. It's like a wow moment for me when it does happen. So like I never. So when I started, I never just had those boundaries, and I just felt like I needed to save everybody else and be there for everybody else. And like that's not the case. It's not the case, and that's not in a negative way. But it's like when you got something good, and when you do make good things happen, make sure you do what you need to do to take care of yourself. So therefore, you can take care of your family, you can take care of the people who took care of you, and you can keep moving forward. And you don't need to feel like guilty about your success. You don't need to feel guilty about the good things happening in your life. And it's like having boundaries in place solves like 99% of life problems. So that's like it's that probably is my biggest hurdle to get over. Just learning like it's cool to say no. Like you don't gotta say yes to everything.
Come on. You gotta honor your no so you can have power in your yes. That's so good. And I love that you touched on that because it's such an important thing to think of. Because I feel like too, as creatives, we almost fall into this space of a few different spaces, but one of them being that idea of we almost have to earn and perform for our love and acceptance, especially those close to us. And it also goes back to wanting to deeply help people, but we can almost become people pleasers unintentionally, but we do because we're like, when we want to help so many people, we fall into that trap of that guilt, like you mentioned, that guilt and shame of, well, I have this, why not? Why shouldn't I give it? Why shouldn't I share in this wealth? But it's like you said, if we don't take care of ourselves first, if we don't put on our oxygen mask before we help with a person next to us, like they say on airplanes, then we will ultimately burn out. We will ultimately get to a space of just almost unhealthy and toxic because we can grow bitter in the gifts that we've been given when we start wearing ourselves thin.
I would
But
say that I
yeah,
would say yeah. I've had that first hand experience, and it's not good. It's not a good thing to have, and it's just about understanding your power. Like when you got stuff good for you, it works for you. Obviously, like I said, take care of you. But at the end of the day, if it's working for you, you need to make sure it keep working for you. You need to make sure you keep putting yourself in position so that things can work for you. Because even like you said, like people pleasing those things, like that can. invite a lot of unwanted situations where you might have people, quote unquote, try to take advantage of you, or just other situations you should be in just because you said yes or you felt like you need to help people. Like, because I think that also too, it's just like you gotta understand, like, not everybody has your best interest, but also at the same time, you gotta advocate for yourself and you gotta understand who does have your best interest, important to that. But you do need to limit down on the help and all of those kind of things you do for other people, and you need to help yourself first so that you can keep moving forward. Like I said, I had the first hand account and I was like, wow, this is crazy. And I was like, okay, I understand it. Cause like one thing that I noticed is like when I guess when people feel like they can't benefit and stuff from you, it's like people walk away from you, or people feel like that you're not valuable anymore, and then you can end up internalizing that. You know what I'm saying? And it's like it's just not good all around. So to avoid
Yeah.
all of that, boundaries. Boom, settled, done. You know what I mean? And I probably say it took me like a while to learn that, but I'm only 25, and music started for me basically at 21. So it took a lot of me going through those personal experiences so that I can understand. Now I understand. I'm 25-year old and I'm doing like the sync and all of these things. I understand, like, just to continue to focus on myself so that I can keep building my brand up. Because at the end of the day, if you can make moves happen with like people not being around, like, you know what I'm saying, you got to do what you got to do. You got to keep doing what you got to do, man. You can't let nobody ever take your power away, ever, ever in this life. It don't matter what nobody says, whether they high up or whether they're, low. Don't matter. Does not matter. You need to keep your power to you.
Come on. So good. All right, I have one final question for you.
Yeah.
What was the most useful thing? What was most useful for you from this conversation we had today?
Hmm. Dang, that's yeah. I would say the most useful thing. Hmm. Probably the same, just having that conversation of as being like artist to artist, just having that conversation and understanding, like, everybody experience is unique, but at the same time we all relate to each other in some way. And it's like we can use each other's stories to help push ourselves. I probably say that's the bigger thing. Plus two, now people can do sync. So like cool. Now y'all learn.
There we go. We gave them practical, we gave them mindset. I know you got something listening at home. I know you got something from this. But with that said, we'll close out the recording and then we can stay on for a little bit and chat. But as always, you listening at home, thank you for listening. If you want to be a guest, you'll find a form in the description. Fill it out. I'd love to have you on as a guest because I'm always looking to have these conversations with people. Donnie, thanks again for having coming on, being a guest. I really appreciate you.
Thanks,
Do you
thanks
have
for
any
having me.
do you have any final words for the people?
Um, Stream Hey Donnie, Get Going, produced by Lonely God. And yeah, that's it. I think that's it. That's all I got. And go to heydonnie.com and shop. You should smile more. That's it.
Hey,
Yeah,
you
that's it.
you heard him. We'll put all his links in the description. I'll be sure to get them from him. And you go check out his music, stream it, connect with him. If you're an artist and you want to collaborate with him, reach out, make those connections because that's what this is all about, this community of creatives we built. But with that said, I'm praying for you, friend. I love you. Now let's go live better than best as we conquer this week.
Amen.